So it was a Thursday morning, and I was in a meeting with a couple of my close friends, and I received a phone call. It was my wife, and she quickly said, "We have been matched." And I said, "Matched to what?" She said, "A baby." "A baby?" "Yeah, the baby's 10 days old, and it's a baby girl, and they want to know if we can pick her up on Monday." Monday? It was one of those moments where your eyebrows get stuck higher than your hairline, right? Completely surprised. I'm going to be a dad. We're going to be parents. We don't have anything. We don't have a nursery. We don't have diapers. We don't even have a car seat to pick this baby up. Yes. The answer was yes. Yes. Yes, we'll pick up this baby. Yes, I'm going to be a dad. This is crazy. So we did what anyone would do, right? We called our parents. And then we called our close friends. And then in this time, this era, what would anybody do? They would update their Facebook status. We're going to be parents on Monday. Help, right? So our community started getting around us, right? They started dropping things off at our front door. We got diapers, we got onesies, we got things I did not know what to do with. And we even got a car seat given to us. And on Monday, we met our baby girl. This is Jada. And the interesting thing was we experienced all kinds of generosity from our community. But they weren't the heroes. We weren't the heroes. The most generous person in this whole story was Jada's birth mom. She chose us. She chose us to care for her daughter forever. And there is nothing we could ever do to repay her. You see, that's what generosity is. It is to freely give with nothing in return. There's no gift I could give her back that meets her gift that she gave me. And I think in our culture right now, there's many of us that desire to be generous. And it's even trending in a lot of our relationships. We've experienced firsthand in all different forms, one of which started at a wedding. It was a wedding reception that my wife and I were at with, those round tables, 6 strangers or 8 strangers that are there with you. And I decided to test out a theory. I looked at all of them. I said, how many of you have a gift card in your purse or wallet that's been sitting there at least 6 months? And they all reached in, as you are right now, right? And they all reached in, they all pulled out a few gift cards and set them on the table. And I said, listen, I know that we're strangers. We just met. But will you give me those gift cards? Because I promise to give them to someone in need. You can imagine the lively conversation after that, right? They gave me all the gift cards that day. We drove home from that wedding with $52 in gift cards. And soon we learned that it was an $8 billion industry. Every year, $8 billion goes unused in gift cards. So through the generosity of our friends, the idea started spreading. 6 months later, we had 23 national stories done on this idea called giftcardgiver.com. Since then, we've been able to give away $200,000 in gift cards, some with 17 cents on them and some with $150. And what we learned in that process is that out of our excess, we can address needs. Oftentimes, we have excess in our lives, we just don't know where to find it. So where do you begin? You have to define what is enough. It's a question we all wrestle with, right? Because anything more than enough is excess, anything less than enough is suffering. And the distance between enough and excess, these are the things that we want. And the distance between enough and suffering, these are the things actually we need. But we mistakenly use those words interchangeably, don't we? The easiest thing is to define what is enough for someone else, isn't it? The hardest thing is to determine it yourself. What is enough? It's a subjective definition that we all have to ponder at some point in life. Unfortunately, we've diminished this idea of generosity to money. Too often we think if you are generous, you are giving money. But what if you had no money? What if right now, today, your bank account ended, would it be possible for someone to consider you as a generous person? Could you be known as generous? What do you have in excess that has nothing to do with money? Do you have excess amount of clothes? Do you have an excess amount of social capital? Do you have an excess amount of square footage? You see, we can ask this question, what is enough, in every aspect of life. If we choose to live with less, we gain the opportunity to give more. Now, there's two sides of this equation of generosity. There's the give and there's the take. There's the problem and there's the solution. There's the need and there is the offering. And I have become very good, I don't know about you, but I have become very good at the giving side. Why? Because oftentimes it makes myself look good. But in reality, I have needs also. I don't like to say that out loud, right? I'm a leader, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm supposed to come up with the solutions to the problems, not admit that I need others. I try to fill my life with more and more and more stuff, separating myself from community more and more and more. But in reality, there's things that you have, there's things that I need that you can give to me. Martin Luther King says something so brilliant about this. He says, we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. The truth is, we need each other. I need your generosity in my life. I need you to speak into the things that I am doing and to give out of the strengths that you have. I have a friend named Clarence. And Clarence was the first person to welcome me to my neighborhood 6 years ago. You could oftentimes find Clarence around the neighborhood pushing a lawnmower, looking for work. He rarely was looking for a handout. He wanted a hand up. The only difference between Clarence and myself was that he had no home. And it was the first time I had to wrestle with how to love my neighbor when my neighbor had no home. I remember one night it was raining outside and my wife and I were sitting at our kitchen table playing a game of Settlers of Catan, which Clarence had no idea what that was. And the doorbell rang and it was Clarence. And like I said, it was pouring down outside and he was drenched. He had a hoodie over his head. It was tied so tight, right? You could only see this amount of his face. And I looked at him that night and I said, Clarence, what do you need? He said, I was wondering if I could get some just dry clothes. Maybe some dry shoes. And then, do you got a gift card to McDonald's? He learned that we had started this gift card thing really quickly. So I remember turning around that day and walking to the back of my house, into the master bedroom, into our closet. And I realized in that moment, I had a closet that was 6 feet by 6 feet. And Clarence was waiting the storm outside. I looked in my drawers, and I had 20 pairs of socks, easily. I had 15 jackets hanging. I had 10, 12 pairs of shoes. I had an abundance. I had more than enough. I remember getting him what he needed that night and going on with our game that evening. A year later, a friend of mine, a neighbor, called, and they said, did you get the news? And I said, what news? They said Clarence was pushing his lawnmower in the neighborhood, and he got hit in a hit-and-run accident. And that night, Clarence passed away. And I miss Clarence. The truth is, he made me see the world differently. He made me realize the abundance that was in my life. He opened his life up to me. You see, sometimes we don't need more gifts. Sometimes we need each other's presence. And I'll never forget the time I got to introduce Jada, our daughter, to Clarence. You can imagine, right, going to the front door and telling him that we had a daughter. He didn't get the Facebook announcement, apparently. The face that he had that day brought so much joy. It was a celebration together. You see, there's nothing that I can ever do to replace Clarence and the relationship I had with him and the things he gave me. There's nothing I could ever do to repay Jada's birth mom for giving me my daughter. I believe that everyone in this room has something to give. You have something that can help someone else that is in great need in your community. I also believe that you have friends that can help your needs. So I want to invite you to join me in choosing a lifestyle of excessive generosity. Thank you.